So guys, the Championship just doing what the Championship does best, throwing some unexpected results. It was such an unpredictable weekend, and therefore this is what the prediction league is looking like. A lot of you really struggling for points, me included. I only got 7 points overall, which actually was the second best performing, and I've got to give a big shout out to James Macy, who got the most correct predictions and outcomes for 9 points. I'll also give a big shout out to Max CPSC, who's now officially been promoted to the Lexalexus main prediction league for the very first time. And this is what the Lexalexus Football Prediction League 1 league is looking like. And I've got to welcome Dalrush Games 247 for being the newest addition in this league. If you guys do want to feature in this league in the future, next time we've got some fixtures and I do my score predictions of videos, all you got to do is comment your predictions in the comments down below. But if you guys like what you see and you want to see more Championship content from me, please give a video a like. It does tremendously help. Let's aim for 20 likes in this video. That'd be terrifically appreciative. Please hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. It does really help. We're nearly at 800 subscribers, so we're still trying to chug along for that. That'll be fantastically appreciative if we can get there. And please share this video and this channel to as many people as you can. That's how we're going to grow. But without any further ado, let's start commenting on these bonkers games. So it starts off at MKM Stadium, where Sheffield United have continued their pretty strong form, picking up 3 points, a 3-1 away victory. It's 3 games unbeaten for Sheffield United now, and now 2 wins in their last 3 matches. Also, 11 goals in 3 matches as well. So one thing I've really been liking is that they're scoring more goals now. We're remembering that this side only scored 1 goal in their opening 7 games, and now they cannot stop scoring. And this is really going to help Sheffield United climb up the table, now up to 15th place now following this win. Billy Sharp opened the scoring in the game, and overall it was fantastic play from Morgan Gibbs-White in the right hand side to tee him off and to find Billy Sharp with the composure to make it 1-0. Hull conceded a penalty literally in the final minute of half time, and we thought that Billy Sharp would get his 2nd goal in his 300th appearance for Sheffield United. But no, Matt Ingram in the right way, good height for him, a brilliant save. I thought it was actually more of a brilliant save rather than it being a poor penalty. Matt Ingram definitely kept Hull within it after half time. After half time though, in the second half, in a succession of 2 set pieces, Sheffield United had a very comfortable lead. 2 John Egan goals as well. The defending for the first goal, I don't know what on earth Malik Wilkes was doing in terms of trying to pinpoint him. Deshaun Bernard, I'll question his defending too. He just stood there and didn't even mark anyone. So that defending was poor. Hull eventually got their first goal in 10 hours, which will be something for the fans to cheer about. They also had a disallowed goal from offside as well, which was very unlucky. It's not the first time we see the likes of Josh McGuinness get an offside goal disallowed. But King Lewis Potter was the one who got the goal. It was brilliant work actually down in the right hand side. It was brilliantly struck. And unfortunately, it leaves Hull now in 23rd and really, not looking too strong in their situation at the moment. As with Sheffield United, the direct contrast, they're rising and they're getting their right potential now. And you've got to remember with Jokanovic, I remember Fulham when he had a really bad start there. And then he carried Fulham to the promised land, 3rd place finish and promotion to the Premier League. And Sheffield United need to keep this going because we'll soon discuss later on that any team can be anyone in this league. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting competitive year this year. And then to a disappointing game at Oakwell, it was Barnsley 0, Blackburn 0. I think the best chance for Barnsley's sake came from Clark O'Dore. He was set 1v1, but it was a brilliant save by Thomas Kaminski in that heat of the moment. Blackburn had a couple of rare openings, but overall, I'd say it was Barnsley who were definitely more spurned and definitely more determined to get something out from this game. They had 13 shots compared to Barnsley 3, which is quite contrasting. 60% to 40% possession as well. 4 shots on target to 2 as well. So definitely Barnsley asking more questions and creating more. But what's concerning to me is now that Barnsley have only had 1 win in their opening 8 games. It's another draw, and they've drawn a lot of games. I think they've only lost 2 games so far, Barnsley, this season. But with 5 draws already, they've got to be very careful, Barnsley, because they're only 1 point above the relegation zone. They need to start turning these draws into wins. It'll definitely hold them back for what I think they are capable of. As with Blackburn, that 1 point somehow puts them into the top 6 for the first time this season. So Blackburn definitely going in the right direction in terms of the table. Performance-wise, I was a bit disappointed. I wanted a bit more from them. But if they are going to be setting up to be a very difficult team to beat and actually a very unpredictable team as well in terms of playing from the counter-attack, then I think Blackburn could have the odd good season now and again. It just goes down to consistency. And then we see Bournemouth top of the Championship for the first time this season with a 1-0 away win over Cardiff City. Now, with this game, I thought it was actually a pretty good contest. In terms of the side who played a better football, it was Bournemouth. And what really intrigued me was the clash of styles. Of course, Cardiff being very direct and orientated with their set pieces. Bournemouth playing a lot more of the ball, 65% to be precise, and definitely finding pace in the wings. And Zamora and Anthony had really important roles in those areas throughout the game, really, to be honest. And Bournemouth did definitely had the better of the chances until they did finally get their goal from Philip Billing. It was a brilliant bit of play by Adam Smith, actually, running across that midfield with so much confidence and just striding through. He found Philip Billing just outside the box and bang, what a brilliant strike to take it past the reach of Dylan Phillips, and that made it 1-0 to Bournemouth. Cardiff were a little bit unfortunate because I know they did have a Morrison header which came off the crossbar. But if you looked at the pattern of the play, 16 shots to 6, 5 shots to 2, all favouring Bournemouth. I think they were the better footballing side and I think they did deserve to get something out of this. And Bournemouth right now top of the Championship. So we've already seen West Brom, we've seen Fulham, and now we're seeing Bournemouth as leaders. So it's chopping and changing the top of the Championship, which it's getting me a little bit excited. There was me thinking, oh, it's going to be a 2-horse race between Fulham and West Brom. Now you've had Bournemouth enter the race now. I hope this is going to be a really highly competitive season. As with Cardiff, 2 defeats in 3 games now. Mick McCarthy needs to do something to get this Cardiff side ticking and to get them to score more goals. Very saw Derby having an absolutely awful build-up to this game, but actually produced the result on the pitch that they wanted. A 2-1 win over Stoke. Honestly, any point that Derby get now can be very crucial. We heard the news, obviously, about them breaking the annual accounts of 2016-2018 in terms of the amortization of players, which resulted them in a rumoured 9-point deduction plus a 3 further penalty points. But we heard recently Derby had entered administration. Now, if you guys want me to do a separate video talking through about what Derby's administration means and what that means in terms of what sort of deduction they could get, let me know and I'll be intrigued and I'll get this video and I'll research it. But going into this game, obviously the morale could have been really, really lowered, but fair play to Wayne Rooney, to that squad, and to those fans especially, because they pushed Derby all the way. Stoke were uncharacteristically pretty poor, especially at giving the ball away crucial areas at the back. Leo Ostergaard gave the ball away in the back, straight to Tom Lawrence. Then that started the build-up to the goal to Graham Shinney, then to Max Bird, celebrating his 21st birthday with an absolute peach of a strike. That made it 1-0 to Derby. And then 2 minutes later, it got to 2-0. It was a brilliant free kick, I think, by Shinney. And then it was Curtis Davis who won the header ahead of Bursik. I mean, it was pretty poor goalkeeping by Bursik. He definitely should command it more. But Davis won the header. That made it 2-0. And Derby were cruising. They probably could have scored even a couple more goals. Ravel Morrison did well in the second half to capitalise on a mix-up between Wilmot and Bursik. All he needed to do was hit the target and it would have been 3-0 and potentially game over, but he hit the side netting. And I thought, are Derby going to rule for that missed chance? Because their former player, Tommins, managed to get a goal back in there. It was Curtis Davis this time who gave the ball away. It was collective. Ranchis did well with the ball to find Tommins running in some space. He shot it past Rees and that made it 2-1. So it was a bit of a closer game than I think it probably should have been. I thought Derby were the better side and the better footballing side overall. And I got to praise their character. That's all I can say. As with Stoke, despite this defeat, they're still in the top 6. They're going to be very, very careful in terms of giving away silly goals, especially in terms of making mistakes and playing out from the back. Stoke need to try and eradicate that as soon as they can. And then undoubtedly to a result that no one has ever predicted, Fulham 1, Reading 2. I mean, I saw Reading 2-0 up and I thought, okay, this is going to be one of those days in the Championship where we're just not going to predict many of these games. And you've got to give the plaudits to Ovi Ejaria. He scored 2 goals. The first goal being an absolute peach. So it was on the right-hand side and it was worked by John Swift and Halovic. So those two were instrumental in the build-up to that goal. Ejaria strikes it in the top left corner past Gazzaniga. I mean, what a strike it was to make it 1-0 to Reading. Fulham had chance after chance though. Bobby Reed went close. Mitrovic hit the bar. Cavallero, when he was brought on, went close. There was so many players for Fulham that went so close. And I think it really made things matters worse when Jarrett got his second. It was a brilliant, ingenious chip by Halovic. It was another counter-attack. Got ahead of Adebayor in the back and then managed to put a cool shot past Gazzaniga to make it 2-0. Fulham did get one back and it was good to see Rodrigo Muniz get his first goal. It was actually brilliant play by Harry Wilson on the right-hand side. Looped it to Mitrovic, who headed it to Rodrigo Muniz to force it in. And even with 2-1, Fulham had the chance to get a point, but Southwood in goal, fair play to him. I know Cabral injured himself by punching a whiteboard, and Southwood in his place, he has really filled in his boots fantastically well. Made some crucial saves. Reading's defence was the best I've ever seen it. Fulham, just look at those chances, 25 shots. But what's disappointing? 5 on target. Conversion rate, 20%. And 20% of those chances actually turned into a goal. So that is really concerning for me. And I'm even thinking long term, if they go to the Premier League and they have these sorts of games, it's really going to be same old for Fulham. They've got to take their chances. And if they want to be the team to beat, they've got to do it consistently. And now are we starting to see some cracks if they can pull off these performances consistency? Maybe. It might not just be as one-sided as we thought. Reading, fair play to them. I mean, they're now on 10 points, 14th place in the table. Likewise with Derby, a bit of an underdog based on their wafer-spin squad. But you've just seen when Ajari is in his full fitness and he returns to the squad, he can just whip up a result just like that. So fair play to Jarrett and fair play to Reading. What a result. And talking about what a result, we have to go to Nottingham Forest because they picked up their first win of the season. A 2-0 victory against in-form Huddersfield, who have now fallen out of the top 6 following this defeat. Now, the goals were actually really in good quality. Well, maybe not the second goal, but the first goal. Fair play to Brennan Johnson. He ran through that defence in that right-hand side and he charged forward. Pin perfect cross. Lewis Graben, first time header, goal. And that sort of quality is what we've been missing from Nottingham Forest since the start of the season. And they looked a completely different team in this game. Okay, they may not have been perfect in terms of trying to get the ball. 70% of the possession was with Huddersfield. May not have created as many shots as Huddersfield. But Huddersfield only had 2 shots on target to Nottingham Forest's 4. They were efficient with the ball, Nottingham Forest, and they got a second goal. It was a brilliant save by Lee Nichols from a Ryan Yates shot, but Joe Nolly tried to smash in a rebound. It bounced off a defender and it bounced off Lee Nichols in the end. It was a Lee Nichols' own goal, unfortunately, but Joe Nolly deserves the credit from that. So you actually got to give some credit for Forest here. They were efficient and they actually made their chances count for the first time this season. They're now on 4 points, still rock bottom though, although that may change if Derby get their 12-point deduction pretty soon. But it now, I think, gives them just a little bit more optimism of their season. As with Huddersfield, this cannot be the start of Huddersfield dropping their form. They need to respond in a big way. If they now go in a really poor form again, then all that work that Corberan and Huddersfield have done at the start of the season will almost count for nothing. We're just going through the bonkers games now, and now we just casually get to the Kenilworth Stadium with a 6-goal thriller. 3-3. This is the exact epitome of a game of two halves. Luton won the first half 3-0. Swansea won the second half 3-0. I mean, how can you digest that? Luke Berry scored the first goal, and what a goal it was. A corner swinging in by Cornick, and then just bounced around, and then I don't even know what he does. He just kind of does a lean and then he volleys it in the net. It's unbelievable technique by Luke Berry to make it 1-0 to Luton. And then within a couple of minutes later, they win a penalty, but defending by Norton was very, very lacklustre. It was literally a long looping ball that Norton completely misjudges. He wrestled Cornick into the box and then the ref pointed for a penalty. Adebayo scored his only penalty, making it 2-0. And even a couple of minutes later, Elijah Adebayo got his second goal to make it 3-0. And what a touch it was by James Bree. Once again, long pass, Adebayo finishes it off to make it 3-0. I mean, Swansea were all over the place. But how on earth they turned that around, I can't comprehend it. Jamie Patterson got the first goal in the 63rd minute and we thought, okay, this might be a consolation goal. Olivier Litcham is a new hero. He drove forward with that ball, supplied it to Jamie Paterson, and that made it 3-1. And then Olivier Nitschke becomes from provider to goal scorer, absolutely whipping a thunderous strike in the top left corner past Simon Sluga. That made it 3-2. Nothing that Sluga could do about that one. The Paterson one, where it just deflected off his leg and bounced behind him into the net, he probably could have, but that one he couldn't do anything about. And then for 3-3, Joel Pyro, I mean, it was a brilliant strike by Joel Pyro. Nitschke creating it once again, making it 3-3. And what a game it was as well. 73% of the ball Swansea had, but eventually they made their chances count in the second half. And Luton, when they were actually getting their last minute equalising goals recently, Swansea now just outdid them in what Luton have been doing in their past 2 games now. So Luton can now have a taste of the pain for what they've been causing in the past 2 matches. So Luton for me, 13th place, kind of stumbling down a little bit. Once again, a bit similar to Barnsley, drawing too many games and not getting those wins, and that could be crucial. As with Swansea, it's a good recovery, because if they had not picked up that point, they would have been in the bottom 3 after this weekend. Hopefully, for Swansea's sake, we can see more of that spirit and just not concede so many goals, because that's going to be a big problem if they cannot resolve that. To another shocking result, to another one. This day is full of shock results. We see Blackpool pick up their first away win of the season with a 2-1 victory over Middlesbrough. So, Middlesbrough got the first goal. It was from Tavernier. He started off with a corner. And then what happened basically was the ball got looped in, and then Blackpool players appealed for offside. Tavernier wasn't offside. He scored, and no one marked him. Because of that, made it 1-0. Blackpool always carried a threat, especially when they would attack down the wings, and you'd have the likes of Shane Lavery or Terence John-Jules up front as a focal point. In terms of the second half, Blackpool completely turned it around. This is also the weekend of comebacks as well. So, Neil Warnock was enraged with a free kick decision going against Middlesbrough. Richard Keogh took the quick free kick. He got an assist to his other defensive partner, Marvin Etikepa, with the equaliser that made it 1-1. And then within a couple of minutes later, Grant Hall with a known goal. It was an in-swinging corner. Nothing he could do about that. And that made it 2-1 to Blackpool. But Middlesbrough hit the crossbar twice. Once from Spora and then one from Pyero, where if that shot came in, that would have been undoubtedly the goal of the weekend, just from the swerve and technique alone. So, Middlesbrough right now, bit in the wilderness for me. You know, they got a good win and a crucial win for me when they beat Nottingham Forest in midweek, but now they find themselves in 16th place with 3 defeats already this season, with only 9 points as well. And with the expectation that they have, I think that's a bit disappointing. With Blackpool, they're now out of the bottom 3 with 2 wins in their last 3 matches. They're up to 20th. You just can't predict Blackpool. 1 minute they look great against Fulham, then really bad against Huddersfield, and then really good again against Middlesbrough. So they're going to be a very up and down team, Blackpool, which should keep the championship fun and exciting. And then we saw Millwall and Coventry draw blanks with a 1-1 draw. This was the only game I actually predicted correctly. Victor Gyökeres just starting unbelievably once again for this season. That's his 5th goal of the season now, Gyökeres. It was a brilliant build-up to the goal. Haim deserves a lot of credit for that. That made it 1-0. Now, in terms of Millwall's goal, I mean, they equalised actually pretty quickly afterwards, actually. Brilliant build-up, especially in the right-hand side. It was Matt Smith involved, Romeo involved, then a ball looping in, and then it was George Saville who had the space, and that made it 1-1. Now, overall, the game was pretty close. Both teams were offering a little bit. Both goalkeepers were needed for crucial saves as well. Maybe Millwall came the closest because they had a goal disallowed from Tom Bradshaw from offside, which was a very tight call. Coventry, I mean, they're at 4th place right now. What an unbelievable start that is for Coventry. I mean, that's quite astounding, to be honest. Millwall not quite having the same success at the moment. They're down in 18th place at the moment. And one thing I talked about with Millwall last season was the amount of draws they had. I mean, they've had 5 draws in 8 matches already. So that's not a good sign for Millwall. They need to turn those draws into wins if they want to move up the table. Then to another unpredictable result that no one saw coming. Peterborough all of a sudden now remember how to win a football match. And not just by any old scoreline, a 3-0 convincing scoreline where I would remind you they were already 3-0 up before Birmingham were down to 10 men. Harley Dean had an own goal in the first minute, and I think that ultimately decided the outcome of the game. It was a good bit of play by Siriki Dembele, just tricking into the defence. Beavers actually started off the attack, Dembele getting into the left-hand side, and then Harley Dean tries to defend it, but he slides it into his own net. That made it 1-0 to Peterborough. And I think that spurred them on. That gave him that added bit of confidence, to be honest. And then Johnson Clark-Harris increased the lead when it was a penalty that he scored. It was good play, and once again, Siriki Dembele creating a chance. He put in a through ball to George Grant. He was fouled, and it was a definite penalty for me. 2-0, brilliant penalty by Johnson Clark-Harris. And then even in the second half, Peterborough weren't done there. George Grant managing to get the third goal in the end. And it was Siriki Dembele who, for me, would be man of the match, because he had a say in all 3 of Peterborough's goals. Birmingham threatened now and again, but they didn't really do anything that mind-blowing that was going to suggest that Birmingham were going to take control of that game. They were pretty much second best to most of it. Garner got sent off, of course. It was a very late challenge that he managed to pull off. Despite that win, Peterborough is still in the bottom 3 because Swansea, of course, picked up that dramatic 3-3 draw and a point. But now Peterborough have given themselves that sort of performance. It gives me a little bit of hope as a neutral fan that maybe Peterborough can compete in this league. As with Birmingham, they're in the landslide. You know, with them only conceding 2 goals in the opening 6, they've now conceded 7 in their last 2. They need to try and sort something out with this confidence and this fitness thing. Because I think playing in midweek to the weekend is something that Birmingham may struggle with, but they need to try and find a way around that. And then the spoils were shared in Deepdale as Preston and West Brom drew 1-1. Now this was the day of reunions because we saw the reunion of Callum Robinson and Jordan Hugill, both Preston players. Now Robinson had a really quiet game. There was no point of me even commenting on Robinson. He had a very quiet game. Preston took the lead. Shock surprise. But it was Ben Whiteman with the goal, and it was a pretty big deflection, I got to say. But in the end of it, it was a goal. It was a shot on target, so it count as Ben Whiteman's goal. And Preston, you know, they'll know if you don't shoot, you know you're not going to get a goal. They took their chance and they took it. And it was Reece Jacobson with the assist. That made it 1-0 to Preston. But West Brom, for me, were the better side creating chances. Iverson was the much busier goalkeeper. Now, they did get an equaliser in pretty controversial ways. You would argue that they won the throw-in quite far down the pitch, but they moved the throw-in quite far and pretty close into the penalty box. Throw-in was taken, 47th minute, literally the last attack before half-time, and Preston would be gutted that they conceded that goal. Matt Phillips with the header, which made it 1-1. But was the throw-in in the wrong position? Maybe a bit controversial in that part. Now, in the second half, it was all West Brom for me. They definitely were the team looking like that. They were the more likely team that they were going to get that second goal. And there was an opening for Jordan Hugill, and I thought, oh gosh, if he scores here, he won't be welcome back at Deepdale. But he missed. It was a tame shot, and I think the occasion got to him, you know. And there were a couple of chances. Dean Garner looked pretty lively in that game, and it was one of the better performances I've seen of Dean Garner this season. Overall, this is the 3rd consecutive draw from West Brom. And in fact, I think the 3rd consecutive 1-1 draw from West Brom as well. Once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Turning these draws into wins will help West Brom's season. They've now fallen out of the top 2 now for the first time this season. As with Preston, it's a draw. They've now held an unbeaten run up to 4 games now, I believe, which I think is a step in the right direction for Preston. And this result I'm so gutted about because I remembered saying Bristol City away from home are great. And I won't lie, I was very close to throw a spanner in the works and say Bristol City will get a 2-1 win. But no, I backed Queen's Park Rangers to do a comeback. And they couldn't, unfortunately. So it was 2-1 to Bristol City, and it was a pretty intense game overall. But if you looked at those chances, you would have thought, how on earth have Queen's Park Rangers not won this? 26 shots, 11 shots on target. It's like a typical stats you would see in a FIFA game, to be honest with you. Now, Bristol City took the lead. Hanno Masengo deserves a lot of credit in the left-hand side, driving through, getting past Victor Vij. He gets the ball in. Andre Weimann keeps the ball alive in a dead situation, and then Chris Martin shoots the ball into the net, making it 1-0 to Bristol City just before half-time. Now, in the second half, Queen's Park Rangers respond quickly, and I thought, okay, here comes the comeback. It was originally a Chris Willard cross, brilliantly defended by Rob Atkinson, but Sam McCullum on his weak foot, smashing it into the net to make it 1-1. And overall, it looked like it was going to be Queen's Park Rangers that were going to get the goals. Lyndon Dykes hit the post, and Lyndon Dykes had a 1v1, an absolute sitter, but he shot it straight at Dan Bentley. And Dan Bentley made an unbelievable save from Charlie Austin as well. Definitely man of the match would go to Dan Bentley, but another contender will be Andre Weimann. When it was the 93rd minute, the ball kind of broke loose, and Bristol City countered. The pass that Weimann does to find Naki Wells is honestly pinpoint, like, amazing. It's an amazing assist from Andre Vyman. And Nahki Wells scores against his former club to make it 2-1 to Bristol City. And they find themselves 8th and 9th place respectively on the same amount of points as well, which is crazy to know that both these sides are on the same amount of points now based on the different starts they've had to the season. So that is all of the dramatic results, and this is what the table is currently looking like in the Championship. So we've got Bournemouth and Fulham in the top 2. In the playoffs, you've got West Brom, Coventry, Stoke and Blackburn now sneaking in. And then when you look at the bottom 4, Swansea just about avoid bottom 3 with that last minute goal. And then Peterborough, Hull and still Nottingham Forest in the bottom 3. But Derby with that minus 12 point deduction looming, it'll put them on minus 2 points. So to wrap up, I'll give my goal of the weekend, player of the weekend and result of the weekend. So goal of the weekend's tricky, but I've got to give it to Olivier Ntcham for Swansea. Just the pinpoint accuracy in that strike, and Sluga couldn't get anywhere near it. That's got to be my goal of the weekend. My player of the weekend, there were a lot of candidates I could have given it to, but in the end, based on the result, and this will also be the result of the weekend, I'm going to give my player of the weekend to Ovie Ejaria. And a result of the weekend following from that is going to be Fulham 1, Reading 2. An unbelievable win by Reading. But that will wrap it up in today's video today. If you guys enjoyed what you saw, please give the video a like. It just tremendously help the channel. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done. It does tremendously help the channel. And please share this video to as many people as you can. All of that really helps. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care.